Good evening. Do you like my Halloween costume? This year, I decided to go as a pianist. I know it's still quite rough and it does seem to require a lot of explanation at parties, but I really enjoy it. Plus, there seems to be a shortage of accompanists lately. There are fewer, it seems, every day. Tonight, I want to present to you a few tales of terror, made all the more sinister because they are true, straight from the recollection of real clarinetists. This first tale, well, I'll let it speak for itself. This one's called The Franken Clarinet.
I have an unfortunate tale to tell you on this very spooky evening. It was a cold, starless night 2 days before a big recital. I was the only one in the Fine Arts building. There was no one else there. Security had yet to kick me out. It was one of the final times practicing before the big performance, as you might say, for the entire semester. What happened next made my heart stand still for a moment as I put my clarinet together 2 days before my recital. Nothing worked. The rings wouldn't go down. Even though the bridge key was lined up, nothing would happen. What was I to do? There was no time to take it to a repair shop. There was no one but me in the Fine Arts building. And there was no time for help. No one could hear me scream, for my clarinet was not working. Until I noticed my fatal mistake. It was me the whole time. I had created the Franken clarinet, half of A clarinet, and the other half B flat clarinet. It struck fear into my very soul. The Franken clarinet lived but for not very long, but it was horrifying and it was fleeting. Thankfully. But the horror of the Franken clarinet will never leave me to this day, after many, many years. Pray to the reed gods for your clarinet safety. Good night.
My. Well, that's enough to frighten anyone. This next tale is a cautionary one, intended for students who might be tempted to cut corners when disassembling their clarinets.
Okay, so many years ago when I was teaching middle school, I had a student come to me and he said, "Hey, Mr. G, my clarinet's not working right. The notes aren't coming out." So I was like, okay, let's look at what's going on. And I looked at his clarinet and I looked at his reed and it just looked a little bit chipped. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see what's going on. But then, as you can see right here, this is a reenactment of that reed. And you can see that there's a little bit of some black specks on it or something. It looked a little bit off. It's a little bit chipped, right? So I take the reed off and I'm like, okay, that's not good. And I'm like, I had told this student many times before, don't keep your reed on your mouthpiece when you put it away. Don't keep it on your mouthpiece when you put it away. Mouthpiece was looking a little bit gross, so I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on here. I take this reed off. The back of this reed looked like this. And immediately, everybody in the class, including myself, kind of screamed a little bit and gasped. And I was including the student, and he was just going, like he nearly threw up from that. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why you don't keep your reed on your mouthpiece when you put it away. So naturally, I had him go to the sink and wash his mouthpiece for a little bit with some soap and water, and we naturally threw the reed away. I don't think that student kept his reeds on his mouthpiece anymore after that.
Oh, back again so soon. I have another tale for you. Go watch that and find me after.
Some time ago, I was playing bass clarinet on Hindemith's Symphonic Metamorphosis, and I was happy. I was mentoring for a youth orchestra attached to a prominent symphony in the Midwest, and I was happy for the experience and for the pay and for the music. Rehearsals had gone well. I had run a sectional or two, and before you know it, came the concert. And what a concert. It started just like any other. I arrived, assembled my bass somewhere else, warmed up, and then, music in hand, walked on stage and set up my clarinet. Put my music on the stand, started to play a few notes. The kids around me were sounding great. I was very proud of them, and I had taken a moment to tell them that. And besides, since we were attached to a prominent symphony, we were playing in a prominent symphony hall, and I was soaking in the atmosphere of the situation. And then I knew that the A, where all orchestra concerts start, was fast approaching. I had noticed that the piccolo player wasn't on stage yet, and I thought that was odd, but I couldn't do anything about it, so I said I might as well run through that difficult passage one more time. So I look at the music on my stand, and, well, I can't find the passage. I thought that was odd. I knew where it was on the second page in the bottom third, but it wasn't there. And then I looked at the whole page and realized that I didn't recognize any of this music. The notes were all much too high, and there weren't as many of them as I thought. Then I turned back the page, and while I didn't speak German, I could recognize bass clarinet, and what it said on the top wasn't that. And that's when it hit me. I had taken the piccolo player's music instead of my own. So I stand up, take my bass and my music off stage moments before the A, and see the piccolo player in the wings, scrambling. I give her her music. She glares daggers at me. She huffs on stage. And karma wasn't too far behind her. Since I had taken her music, I had left mine in the basement. I had to go get it. And that took about a minute. And so I had to walk on stage, the solo bass clarinetist, after everyone had taken the A, and the conductor had walked on. Sometimes the universe doesn't punish people who trespass in such neat, tidy passages. And then there are moments like that that give you hope.
How positively frightful. Well, that concludes our suite of tales for this evening. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some practicing to do. Good night.